Hey there, folks. This is D-Fish, the artist of Giant Girl Adventures, and doing a little bit of a screen record to start working on some blue lines for what will be page 67 of the ongoing story arc. Um, so if you've been following the adventure, then you know that Ronnie has been transported to a realm called Imperial Earth, but spelled Urth. So whenever I'm talking to Sabrina, I usually pronounce it Earth, just, because. Um, so what I have here is this basic setup of how I work on the page. I work in Photoshop. I have, Clip Studio and all that, but I like Photoshop. I'm more comfortable with it. I've been working on it as software for the better part of 25 years now. I'm very comfortable with it, and I got some great brushes that I really like, and whatever. It's just a lot easier for me. Right here on the left of the screen, right here on the left of the screen, I actually have the script for page 67 up so that I can reference it. You can't see it, but around my desk I have printouts of character reference of the way I've drawn the characters over the last 20 plus pages or so since I took over on page 36 of the storyline. And so we're going to kind of show you a little bit of the process behind the scenes here, and hopefully it will be fun. Ha ha ha. So here you can see I've got a template, and this is, it's called GG issue 17, page 000, and that's my template. I open this up every time I'm going to start a new page. This keeps me from accidentally oversaving a page, which has happened. Don't do that. Ugh, I lost an entire page. I almost lost my mind. So as you can see here, I've got a bunch of layers. The text is in a little folder where I've got a couple of pre-existing word balloons already set, so I can just start typing in there or copy the dialogue into there. And the word balloon template that I use to start with. So that's turned off for right now. I'm not going to worry about the text for right now. I've got a layer called borders. And there's nothing on it right now, and it has an automatic stroke set, but here I'll show you quickly what it is. So let's say I fill in, let's just do a quick, okay, I'll select all of it. I've got these little blue lines here that show me where the panel border needs to extend to. And we'll make this, just for the sake of this visualization, this is a 2-panel page. It's really not. Oh, I messed up. What did I do? No. Ta-da! Okay, so 2-panel page. Then I fill that with white, and as you can see, the borders fill in with the strokes already there. Perfectly helpful. But I'm going to undo that, deselect. The swoosh lines are all the little motion lines that I do. Usually they're black with a little white underline. Woo! Oh, I'm using all the wrong tools here. I use this for my brushing. It's called Kyle's Ultimate Thick Inking Thick and Thin. I really like it. So, I'm doing my swoosh lines. But as you can see when I zoom in a little bit, there's a bit of a white underline, and then but for the darker pages, I fill them in white and get rid of the drop shadow. And since they've been in these caves the whole time, yeah, a lot of that going on. But okay, that's all inking stuff. I've got the halftones, which is those little gray lines that I use. The line art layer, Ronnie's red, which is the red color of her outfit, is a color blending mode, so it's just color overlays. So even if I fill it in all black, it comes out Ronnie red. The dark gray of parts of her outfit, ta-da! The light gray that I use sometimes, ta-da! Even though I was a black brush for all 3 colors. And then the sketch layer, which I'm going to use. Now this one has a color overlay so that no matter what color I'm using, it comes out this kind of periwinkle blue. Haha. So I'm going to start with that, and I've got a 5-panel page here, and I'm not really going to worry too much about what the page layout is. Now for here, I'm going to use the Kyle Ultimate Pencil Hard because I like the illusion that I'm actually penciling. It's petty, but whatever. Since this is a wide shot, I'm going to make this a wide shot. So I'll just kind of give myself a basic. Sometimes I'll just draw these and then shrink them around, and I may end up doing that here, depending on how long this video goes. But I'm going to try to keep it kind of loose for the sake of this. So we've got wide shot with Lexi and Ronnie in the foreground. The rest of the party assembled in a reaction shot in the background. Brittamart's sword is still the light source, so most of them are underlit right now as her blade is lowered, pointing into the ice below them, suffusing the area nearby with a soft blue underglow. Britt looks amazed, Allie looks bemused, Halder is standing tall and erect, but not even looking her way. He's watching their backs with one eye on his situation. Flinna looks disgusted. Smoke and Arlathon are both shrugging. Dirk Swan is holding his sides as he fights to hold in his mirth unsuccessfully. You'll have to look at the last page before this to get why all these characters are reacting this way, but it's fun, and when the page runs, by the time this views, you probably will have seen it, so I can, spoil it a little bit, but, yeah, Ronnie and Lexi have made a certain agreement of what they're going to do when the mission is over, and some people are having reactions, and Britomart is still kind of shocked that Ronnie can actually get small. She had no idea. She thought she could only get big. But now Ronnie is actually small enough to fit in Lexi's arms, which is what I'm going to start with. In the last panel, Lexi had her sword up dramatically, making a big old pose like we're going to go fight. And Ronnie was kind of hanging off her leg like Princess Leia on the original Star Wars poster. So for this one, I'm going to kind of resume the older pose where she's in her arms for convenience and tuck that sword back in. So very much, working quick, knowing what kind of pose I want to do. I want to make sure that they look like they're looking back to the group. So I'm just kind of roughing out the shapes that I'm going to need to use here. I almost always, whenever Lexi is flying, I almost always have that one leg up. That's like so comic shorthand for someone is flying, is their leg is up. But also because she took her little sword out of her left leg, it makes the most sense that the left leg would be the one that is extended in this panel. Give her a little bit of the pointed foot down there. Not really worrying about anything like costume details so far. And I'm going to show that her sword is not quite out as she's resheathing it. So certain things dictate where the hands and all that are going to be. If you hear barking, that is my puppy Puddin' Poe Whistlefish, shortly known as just Poe. And he is home here with me, and he barks at literally everything that happens in the world. He's got that big scoop neck collar, a little leather boob covers here. Just getting some of the basic stuff. Now she's holding Ronnie. Ronnie was originally on her leg, and Ronnie's about a third of Lexi's size in this shot, give or take. Lexi is gonna be happy because she's gonna get Giant Girl Nookie when them adventures over, and she's been wanting Ronnie since the first panel they met. I love Lexi as a character. She is probably my favorite to draw of the adventurers, and I love her and Ronnie's dynamic. I love putting her as kind of like this weird little, are they talking in the first panel? No, they are not. So, well, Ronnie is, but Lexi's not. So generally, I do have a rule. If a character's not talking, then their mouth doesn't need to be open. If a character's talking, their mouth really should be open. I hate characters talking in a comic and their mouths are closed. And that usually a lot of that happened where artists back in the day, especially Marvel Method artists, weren't, that mohawk may be a little big. Yeah, it is. Proportion is kind of my biggest issue as an artist, and her wings are going to be flapping hysterically. So for Lexi's mostly laid in. Ronnie needs to be kind of looking, and as she's saying, what? Because they're all kind of chuckling. So I'm going to have her kind of climbing back up into Lexi's arm here. So what I'm going to do is that'll work. I'm going to have one of Ronnie's feet up on Lexi's thigh so that it kind of looks like she's bracing herself and helping to climb up a little bit. Now, I may need to tighten up some of these poses. I have little guides to help me with anatomy and stuff like that whenever possible, that I try to use a good degree. And definitely poses like this that are a little complicated, it'll come in handy. For now, I'm just going to try to work through for the storytelling, because we frequently do very rough, it's like here, that foot's not working at all, so erase. Her leg needs to be back further so that it's only kind of the tip of her foot here. Also, the scale was off. Her foot was getting huge. put one of Lexi's hands here on Ronnie's butt because she is enjoying being able to feel up on Ronnie a little bit whenever possible. Her head should be up higher because I had her head a little bit low there in that first shot. I use that little face guard, that very 90s image face guard that was designed by Kuhn, the original artist. And I like it. And just kind of rough in a face where she's just, what? So a little irritated. Bigger pupils because she looked a little dilated there. And I will work through as we go. I mean, if anyone who's on our Patreon knows, we experiment with the facial expressions because I'll send this to Sabrina when I'm done. Now, sometimes I'll actually work on it while she's on the phone with me, and if that's the case, then I'll do little screen grabs right as we're going, and she can comment right then and there live. And we really like working that way. We spend a lot of time working on the phone. For here, I want her to be have a little bit more of a hey, so I'm going to put her arm just straight out. And we'll see how it works. A lot of this is taking the notes that I've got, and I don't like that at all. Oop, wrong tool entirely. I always hit the gradient when I mean the eraser. So for this, I'm going to keep her hand a little bit more. I call this the Art Adams fingers, where the hand is just kind of hovering. Almost like an animation in between, where her arm is not quite where it's going to be and not quite where it was. Indicate that she's kind of turned her head to the group. One way to do that is to have the ponytail whipping a little bit. And she's got a cape here. So actually, you know what? I'm going to have the cape cupped under a little bit so that it's coming out from under Lexi's hand, and that will actually keep the cape from being too in the shot. And have Ronnie's other foot down here as she's climbing back up. Make Lexi's feet a little bigger so that the proportion difference is obvious, because Lexi is larger than Ronnie in this shot. So we've got Lexi and Ronnie. Proportions are about where they were before, because eventually she's going to be kind of riding in Lexi's hand. Now, for them to be laughing, Dirk is going to have to be in the shot. Now, we haven't seen the rest of the characters, in a lot of pages, so their proportions and where they're standing in the shot can change significantly. And Dirk is going to be up near them, so I'm going to try to work out where I think everyone should be. I'm going to put Britt here, because she's been the closest to them the whole time. You see her in the background twice. And I want to make sure they're large in the shot, even though this will mean I'm going to have to really kind of, I'm going to have to kind of shoehorn a lot of the characters, like shove them in the background, and they may lose a couple of the, sure, it's up too high. And I'll have to play with some of their, the notes that Sabrina gave me, to what they're all doing. And some of them may be much smaller in the background. We're deciding that right now. This is a fairly detailed description of what all we're seeing. And the sword being central in the panel is good because it's going to make lighting a lot easier to manage. If she had her sword out to the side, all the lighting would be coming from this corner. And maybe that works, actually. Maybe that works. Let me try that. Let me try this. A lot of this, what you're seeing right now, is the trial and error process. This is how I work through the pages as I'm laying them out. Sometimes I do it on paper and then come back in and clip the little, I'll take pictures to send to Sabrina of something in a notebook. I'll like sketch everything out. Sometimes I will then take that kind of piece it together. Lately, I've been working in Blueline, getting a bit more comfortable doing the blue lines first in the computer so that they're a little bit cleaner. And it's been working out just fine. I do most of the work digitally. I do all of the work digitally, really. And there is a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which is we have a lot of revisions. There's a lot of tweaks. There's a lot of that face isn't quite right. That pose could be tweaked a little bit. You know, the eye isn't just there. And see, her head is huge and her head is thin. So I'm gonna, how's that work? Oh, that's a little too small, I think. And there we go. Put it back a little bit so that it really does look like she's, so I can get that surprised expression on her face, because she is like, wait, what the F? You can shrink? I love drawing her. She is, Britomart, the Paladin, is so much fun to draw. She's got what we've now jokingly referred to as resting Britomart face, because she almost always looks just completely put upon by Ronnie. Has a long, straight nose that comes to a point. And her eyes, most of the character eyes have gotten smaller since I started drawing. When I started drawing the book, I was following what Kuhn had set up in the character designs, which are, generally speaking, kind of cartoony. And I'm very good at cartoony as well. I do cartoony work. Try an expression, see how that works. I'll ponder that, whether or not I want the little pursed lips or if I want to have a not gaping mouth, slightly gaping mouth. I have changed my mind right here on the spot, because I want this to read clearly surprised. And the pursed lips kind of read a little bemused maybe, and Allie has bemused on his chart. Now this video I'm probably only going to focus on the first panel of the page, because otherwise the video will get like super long, and you know, you want to keep these kind of short so that folks actually want to watch them. And it's not going to be particularly edited, so I'm going to give her another Art Adams hand here, because I needed something to do with it, but I didn't want it to be too aggressively like dun dun dun. So, big teardrop breastplate. Britomart's got probably the most complicated costume design that Kuhn came up with for the arc. But I've gotten fairly good at doing it. Get these big, like, weird scoops on her hips that are fun to draw. And I want to make sure that they're big because they're in the distance, so it makes it very clear that Ronnie and Lexi are small. And in fact, I may actually make them just a smidge smaller, really to play it. Yeah, I like that. And gets them away from the top, so they're isolated. I'm going to put Allie here, and Dirk will be here. Now, Arleth, let's see, what are Arlethon and Smoke? They're shrugging. Okay, maybe, oh, they might fit back here better, actually. Okay, so Dirk's going to be here. Allie's going to be here. I'm going to put Flinna underneath them. Halder here. Now, the one person is not referenced in this shot, I think, is Karloff. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put Karloff a little bit further in the background. I'm going to put him underneath the sword, holding his scythe where the blade is away from any of the characters. I don't, partly because when the scythe is pointed at a character, it's a hint that somebody gonna be dying soon. We've given that bit of information away. So since I don't want to hint at that, what may in fact be happening, because I don't want that to distract, because that's known now. I don't want it to distract from the fact that Ronnie and Lexi are going into battle by themselves. They're going to prep by themselves. So let's see. Now I really have Smoke, and Smoke's the big guy. He's about 10 feet tall. And Arlethon is like the man spider, and so they're shrugging. But I have been having Arlethon very much kind of sitting on Smoke's shoulders a lot in kind of Spider-Man poses, because it's fun. So I'm going to have his left arms are all kind of here as he's on the shoulder, but I'm going to put all for his right, all three of his left in a shrug pose. Because they're just kind of like, whatever. Okay, so I can start roughing him in a little bit more. Allie's got his hat back blissfully because I missed drawing his hat. Particularly because what I discovered is that he basically just has a short hair version of Ronnie. They have almost the same haircut when his hat was off for a few pages. It's just so weird. We always joke that he kind of looks, the way I draw him, I kind of ended up making him look like Clone Wars Anakin. So, let's see. He's got normal eyes again, and that was actually a mistake. For a while, he had the gambit eyes, where the white was black and the other stuff. But he's got normal eyes again, and that literally was because I made a mistake, and it reminded Sabrina she didn't like the way the eyes were designed, and so we used that as a plot line in the background. Yeah, if you hear Star Trek chirping, and you're a fan of Star Trek, and you're like, D, your comm badge is chirping, the bridge is calling you, that's my phone. My phone, all my phone's sounds are Star Trek because I am a massive, massive Star Trek fan. I'm going to put his, like a kind of a bemused. No, because now it looks like he's looking at Britomart. Yeah. He's got his staff. Allie having a staff is so convenient. Half the time because it means I always have something very easy to do with his hands in any given shot. So he doesn't always need to be holding it with both hands, but boy, does it give me something to do with his hands so that I don't have to think about them or have him doing something overt. And he can still clutch that staff. It looks like he's looking at the staff. And erase those eyes and start over. I'm amused, so I'm going to have him a little bit half-lidded. You know what? I'll have him looking over here. He's still kind of got a thing for Britomart. And again, Sabrina may disagree with this wholly and be like, "Yeah, no, I'm having problems with this. I don't know where I want to put his eyes." I'll just have it. They're the focus of the page, so he'll be looking in their direction. That works just fine. I've been kind of trying to avoid that for reasons that do not make sense. So, but yeah, I'll use his hands even on the staff as a way to, gesture some personality into a shot, stuff like that. Oh no, he's almost too tall here. Britomart is a good bit taller than Allie. See, this is why digital is fantastic. There we go. Make him a little bigger, though, so it shows he's standing closer to her. Erase some of these little overlap sketches so that when Sabrina reviews the page, she can understand more clearly where my sketches are coming from. Because I don't blue line much more complicated or detailed than this. This is about as tight as I ink from this level. So let's have a little bit more room now. I am going to move this little sketch head over. Since he's kind of the one that's actually chuckling, let's see. Holding his sides as he fights to hold in his mirth unsuccessfully. How do I visualize that? Okay, so laughing, you generally are over a little bit. Oh, I got it. Okay. I'm not going to have both hands on his sides. What I'm going to do is have one hand here kind of splayed toward the camera on his side. And I'm going to put the other one in front of his mouth because if you're trying to not visibly chuckle, it also helps to cover your smile. Ha! There we go. I think that'll work. He's got shoulder pads. got kind of the stock team bracers. It's a little too modern looking, and I've gotten rid of them on, I have done some mild costume redesigns over the arc where certain design elements or decisions that Kuhn had made don't quite make sense for me. And I wanted this, he's got 2 canteens here. Usually there's a strap because he's got his loot, so I'm going to put the 3 necks coming in this area. He's got his pointy hat. No, there's some kind of name for that. It's an armor thing. Very common in the olden days. I do not know why. Did a point, maybe the point gave room for taking, maybe, yeah, actually that makes sense. Like if an arrow's coming to hit that, you've got a little bit of, you know, if it gets stuck in there and stops here, it didn't hit your skull. I don't know. I mean, it flies, it works. Okay, now you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing right now because it's a screen grab. There's no camera for me to turn towards myself. But, plus I just got out of the shower and I don't have any makeup on at all, so you're not going to get to see this picture. But what I am going to do is use my phone to start looking at what I want his face to look like. He has a pointy nose, but I'm going to still draw it. Okay. The little kind of crinkled eyebrows. Corner of a smirk up here. Okay, for now, that will do. Ha ha ha. So, and again, Sabrina may have completely different ideas. So by the time this page sees the light of day, what I'm drawing right now might be completely different, and the expressions may all change, stuff like that. Sometimes a couple of, oh, his head is way too big there. That's crazy. And that happens a lot, where our expressions do go through a dramatic amount of changes, but usually maybe 1 or 2, and it's usually small tweaks. Little things like an eyebrow here, you know, stuff like that. It's not crazy. Big heads is definitely a problem I have, and as a result, that hand is now enormous. I guess I can just redraw a little smaller. Like Allie, her head is defined by her hat. She got her big elf ears. Now, early on, I had her ears like out to the side, the same way I do for Lexi here, but Sabrina definitely prompted me to revise the way I was drawing that and give her more swept up ears. So she's disgusted, so. Oh, that looks kind of fungy. I like that. Yeah, it's a shorthand. I always refer to like that kind of face as a funge. It's just a kind of a weird thing I do. So, I actually don't know why she's disgusted. I haven't talked about that with Sabrina. But she's disgusted, so let's see, some body language. Oh, she got those gloves, yeah. A lot of characters to wrangle in this book, so it's always tricky to remember what everyone looks like. sword. Her kind of pirate, sexy pirate outfit, which absolutely works and it's so weird. Here I'm going to put Halder, but he's going to be the one, as is noted here, he's looking around, watching their backs with one eye on the situation. Yeah, a little bigger, and so I'm going to have him be the one who's looking away. He helps because he's got this great crescent moon-shaped head with the hair, because the hair goes back and the beard comes forward. That's nice. Okay, he's got another real pointy nose. There's a lot of shapes with Halder. No mustache, but a beard. Another scoop neck collar. And for him, I think I am going to have... I like to kind of have him with his hands on his the hilts of his little daggers, because it just looks... I like the idea that he always looks like somebody who is ready to leap into action at a moment's notice and just F someone up. So I'll put his little dagger there. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I know, it's very exciting. But this is the process. This is how the blue lines happen, and they're shrugging here in the back, so I gotta put his hand in. Well, this is pretty good here. I'm just gonna... He's got that cowl around the side, or like that thing. I have one arm down here, kind of bracing him on the shoulder, and the third arm is draped over his own knee. Got these big clawed feet. I love drawing them. Kind of like Ninja Turtle feet. The hood, I love the hood with Arlathon because the shape of his head is weird. And he's got a lot of eyes. Oh, he's got those things on his arms, those big shields. And he only has 2 fingers and a thumb. That was inconsistent in some of the earlier pages. Some pages he had 3 fingers and a thumb, stuff like that. But I have codified it as the 2 fingers and a thumb, kind of Nightcrawler style, which, you know, Nightcrawler's awesome, so that works. It's got that big kind of scoop cowl. And I'm going to have them looking at each other rather than looking at Ronnie. So when I first saw Snoke's helmet design, I noticed it had this thing where it kind of came out on the edges, like wide. And being a Transformers fan, I went to Sabrina and I'm like, oh, that's Megatron. He's got a Megatron helmet. So... Poe is barking at something maniacally, and I do not know what. Ha ha ha. Wondering if that means that Heidi actually went to the local grocery store and not Walmart. Possible. Some indication of the thing. And here we go. So, here is the first panel of page 67 for you to all enjoy in blue line form. This is the format. This is how we do it. Hit the notes, get everyone in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep, all 10 of them. Ha ha ha. I actually do count. And from there, I send the page along to Sabrina. She gives me the look-see, and we go on from there. And of course, obviously, I got the rest of the panels to do. But wanted to show you something and give you something special of behind the scenes. So have a great day, and keep enjoying Giant Girl. Thanks. Bye-bye.